Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And we have another interesting episode for you guys that you don't want to miss, so make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, I've always felt that the Clippers were one of the best teams in the NBA. Forget about the Western Conference. I always thought they were one of the best teams in the NBA. And ever since the acquisition of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they have become championship contenders in the Western Conference ever since. You don't need to look any further than last season. Last season, I think they had acquired Kawhi Leonard in the first two seasons. The first year, they had that meltdown in the second round against the Denver Nuggets, which was just totally unbelievable to see. The following year, they went to Western Conference Finals. I would say that's pretty good. And if Kawhi was healthy, my personal opinion, I believe he could have made it, the team could have made it to the NBA Finals. Now, they didn't. That's just my belief. I'm not taking anything away from the Phoenix Suns. That's what I believe, and obviously, you guys have the right to disagree with me. Now, going into this season, we knew that Kawhi Leonard, there was a possibility that he could possibly miss the entire basketball season. We all knew this, but we also knew that we would have Paul George. So I always felt that with Paul George leading the way, obviously with Kawhi Leonard being absent, I thought that the Clippers would be one of the lower seeds. We're talking about playoff. We're talking about the playoff picture in the Western Conference. I thought they would be between the 8th and 6th seed. I don't think they would have gone any higher than that because the West is usually very tough. And that is exactly what they are. The only difference is they're somehow doing all of this now without Paul George. So yesterday, after the game, Charles Barkley was on NBA on TNT, and he was talking about the Clippers. And he made some very strong comments about what he thought the Clippers would be as a ball club when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George return this year or next year. So for those of you who missed the comments that Charles Barkley had to make about the Clippers, go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say here. Take a listen to that.
Reggie said something very interesting, and me and Kenny talked about it. Mm-hmm. I thought what the Clippers did at the trade deadline was spectacular. Mm-hmm. And when they get Kawhi and Paul George back next year, they're going to be a handful for anybody in the NBA.
True.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul George, 26 games, has missed 38 in those 26.
Well, you don't like what?
25
Shaq, why don't you think that what Chuck said is accurate?
I'm saying that for years.
No. When they got Kawhi and Paul George, they became a legitimate team. Okay. And they made some great trades.
They had the Norman Powell thing, and they played 3 games. Yeah.
Powell and Covington. When they get their 2 boys back.
You know what else sounded good?
What?
Oh, we gonna get LeBron. Oh, we gonna get Carmelo. Oh, we gonna get Russ.
No.
It sounded good. Yes,
No. First of all, we said from the beginning of the season, we said to let. Almost said it.
I set them
we
up.
said that team from Southern California was going to stink because they had all them old geezers out there, except if Anthony Davis played MVP level basketball. He has not played because he's been hurt, and the rest of them old geezers out there on Geritol and Azorbean Jr. and Bengay.
As we currently speak, the Clippers are the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Okay, they've won the last 5 games that they played, and they're 7-3 out of the last 10 games that they played, right? So the Clippers are playing some pretty good basketball. And they're doing all of this, again, I have to stress this, without the services of their 2 best players. Paul George, think about this. I want you guys to mull this over for a moment. Paul George has only played 25 of the available 65 games. It means he has only played a third of the season. If he missed the remaining of the season, he would have only played a quarter of the season. And somehow, this team is in the playoff picture. Kawhi Leonard has not even dribbled the basketball, not even one time for this team. The reason I believe that this team is doing so well are a few. Number one, they're one of the most balanced teams in the NBA. The Clippers, in my personal opinion, are like the perfect modern NBA team. They're essentially a compilation of two-way guards and forwards. Go look at their roster. Terrence Mann is a two-way guard. Marcus Morris Sr., Nicholas Batum, Obviously, you have Reggie Jackson, although he's not so much of a great two-way player. Then you have Norman Powell, who's a great two-way player. Of course, you have Paul George when he's healthy. He's an all-NBA two-way player. If you have Kawhi Leonard, he's also a defensive player, a two-way player. They have all of these interchangeable pieces that can switch on anything pretty much. And of course, they have the big Ivica Zubac. Obviously, they traded away Serge Ibaka. I'm not going to lament that too much because Serge wasn't healthy for most of the season anyway. So he's there with the Milwaukee Bucks. So to me, I think that's one of the reasons. Another reason is this. They have arguably the best coach in the NBA in Tyronn Lue. Now, last season, I had some questions about Ty Lue from time to time. But when the Clippers got into the playoffs, especially in that first round against the Dallas Mavericks, I was like, listen, this guy. And then when they made it to the second round and the adjustments that he was making in that second round against the Utah Jazz was masterful. It was a tour de force, right? So from that point forward, I knew that Tyronn Lue was a hell of a basketball coach. So in my personal opinion, I think they have the best coach in the NBA. Some people would disagree. In my personal opinion, that's what I believe. So they have Tyronn Lue there. So they have a very balanced roster. And then you have one of the best coaches in the NBA. Then they have arguably the best team builder in NBA history in Jerry West, who was the architect of that Shaq Kobe Lakers. He was also behind the Golden State Warriors. And now he's with the Los Angeles Clippers. And then you finish it off with the richest owner in all of sports in Steve Ballmer with a personal net worth of over $100 billion. Excuse me. How would I disrespect you with $100 billion? You put all of these things together, and you have a recipe for success. Now, the players still have to go out there and play. They still have to go out there and win games. But as the situation currently stands, that's what they're doing. They're winning games with what they have, with Paul George being out and Kawhi Leonard being out. So to me, I think Charles Barkley makes a sound point that when these guys get healthy, they're going to be a handful for anybody. Not because he's saying it with his emotions, but he's using the facts. If this team is an 8th seed without their 2 best players, what would they be with their best players? And to me, if we're going into a playoff series, as I said before, I'm going to reiterate it again. I would take Kawhi over any single basketball player in the Western Conference. Any one of them. Bring me anyone you want. Bring me LeBron, bring me Stephen Curry, bring me Nikola Jokic, bring me whoever you want. I would take Kawhi to beat any of those guys if he has a healthy roster behind him. That's just my personal opinion. So I think Charles Barkley definitely made some very great points, and I think some people are going to have to look out for this team. Now, originally, I thought Kawhi Leonard was going to come back this season. I really thought so. I thought that, he would come back probably by March, but now we're in March, and I don't know. And Paul George, there have been rumors out there that he may return, he may not return. I don't know, right? I don't have a definitive answer on that. But to me, we have to wait and see. But I think Charles Barkley makes a good point. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about the Clippers? How good do you think they'll be next season? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Catch you guys on the next episode.